All right, guys. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to make my view large. Feel free to interrupt if you're on the Zoom live right now. Feel free to interrupt anytime you need something. How the heck do I get my... This is kind of a challenge doing this live. I'm sorry, on a Zoom, because you guys can see my mixing bowl. My head is only half cut off. That's pretty good. It's good, thank you. The sisters know. They're experts on YouTube. They look so serious. Oh my gosh, you guys are scaring me. Don't scare me, sisters. Okay. All right. So for this workshop, I'm going to be going through using from the boards the Love Your Guts Sourdough Workshop outline. That's exactly what I'm going to be going through. I'm going to show you guys the resources that I've created for doing these events because this is really about you learning how to do it. I have a little folder with laminated stuff. I have my instructions. I printed those out, but as you can see, I literally just marked through everything to basically get it down to bullet points. The first page just says open intros. That's it. Second page is 3 ways to improve. And then I mark 1, 2, and 3, which are clearly in the instructions. And then we end up over on the sourdough instructions, which should be the instruction you guys have. That'll be like how to actually make the bread. So I'll skip, I'll fly through the part where we would teach about everything in the beginning of a workshop, having people here. Wait a second. Why are the sisters? There they are. Okay, I should be big. There we go. Oh, another thing that I like to wear is an apron, not just because my cousin's a chef and I want to be cool like him, but an apron. You'll see this is basically like paper mache from school, guys. So this stuff, hey Nina, it's like paper mache. When you get it on your clothes, it can be hard to get it off. And I think I've ruined some things. So I've been using an apron and it works real nice. Another thing that I've started to put together because I'm going to be doing these locally is first of all, the tea towels that you'll provide for people. They also call these bread sack towels. I've ordered about a pack of about 24 of these to start, and everybody in the workshop gets one of these because this is what you cover your bowl with. I've ordered a bunch of extra mixing cups, not a bunch. I ordered like 3 or 4 sets, and then also some extra mixing spoon sets, the really cheap stuff on Amazon, which I actually like them better than my steel ones now. So I'm going to keep them. And then I have that little tote I can bring along. That way, I like to make one of those bags where I can just say, oh, it's a sourdough. Let's go. Oh, this is a vendor booth. Here's my stuff for that. I hate trying to put it all together every single time. Also, each person that comes to the workshop is going to get a little jar like this with like a starter or a mother in it, whatever you want to call it. We'll go over those terms in a minute. You'll notice that I do not have, you know how when you get these, they have like the metal thing in there. You do not want to use that. So this is as your stuff grows and expands, it creates gases. So you don't want it blowing up in your on your counter or something. So you put a paper towel or a coffee filter or something like that. Then you just loosely put it on, and that'll be all you need, like this. Here's one of my mothers. This one is not a see-through jar. This is another mother. I'm just growing extra right now because, like I said, I have that event Friday night at Jules. So I'm going to need like 2 full jars like this. So I'm just kind of growing them as we go through the week. All right. So another thing I like to have is the bread. I don't know about you, but once you start making this stuff, you'll see that going into the bag of bread is just a pain and it kind of gets all over the counter. So to keep things neat, I have this. And then also to keep the counter neat, I have like a silicone baking sheet. I like that because then I can just go like this into the sink and I'm kind of done. Silicone spatulas I find are really nice. They clean up really well. And so that's basically the stuff I've been getting and using. All right, so welcome to the workshop. I am excited you guys are here. At this point, if we were in a live event, I would maybe have you guys go around and introduce yourselves. And we might talk a little bit about, we would start by saying my goal here is that you're going to learn to make bread, that you're going to be able to get some tips and learn something about gut health and the microbiome. And you're going to get some tips on how we can improve that and why that's even important. So part of that process is going to be learning how to make sourdough bread, which is super exciting and a lot easier than you think once you get it. And I want you to be able to take that knowledge to your family, but also be able to share that to friends and people in your community. So we could go around in a live event, have people introduce themselves and say, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your gut health? 1 being terrible, 10 being awesome. And signs of a poor, imbalanced gut would be poor immunity, getting sick a lot, digestive issues, IBS, diarrhea, constipation, skin issues, fatigue, inflammation, things like that. So we'd go around, people would rate their gut, and then we're going to go right to our gut facts. Well, let's talk about the microbiome a little bit. And I'm actually going to go to the, where is it? I'm going to try this one tonight because I think this is where I'm going to end up. There's another worksheet in that folder. It's called Love Your Gut Fun Facts. And this is something I have printed out and I give them to each person that came, and they can take this. And I also print the instructions so they have their own copy and they can take that with them. So some fun facts about gut health. At least 70% of our immune system originates in our gut. Pretty cool. 90% of our serotonin is made in the gut, and only 10% in the brain. And that's like our happy hormone, right? So another thing, Hurley, leave it. Leave it. Sorry, guys. Now you get the door closed. All right. 80% of the food we buy today didn't even exist 100 years ago. I think that's really interesting. The fact that if you think about this very natural food we're making, you already know what it's kind of about because you've been working with the mother, and it's just real food. Okay. When you look at the bread, even the healthiest bread you can look at in the store, you're going to see all kinds of ingredients. Even the healthy sourdough has some other types of yeast put into it. It's not even real sourdough sometimes, and they'll add stuff to make it sour. All right. So another thing about our gut is that nutrient absorption happens in our gut. Um, However, if we're deficient in omega, then we can't absorb the soluble fats. The fat soluble vitamins, which are A, D, E, and K. So I wanted to show you guys, if you don't have a good omega, of course, our family takes the Juice Plus plant-based omega, which has a wide spectrum and includes omegas 3, 5, 6, 7, and 9. So they're super awesome. All right, so let's talk about ways you can improve your gut health. First one would be to eat more fruits and vegetables. At this point, we would explain the benefit of fruits and vegetables and the fact that eating more fruits and vegetables improves your gut health, the fiber in it, and the process of just putting those fruits and vegetables in there is going to build the good bacteria in your in your gut, maybe your butt too, and keep your bodies more alkaline. The other way to do it is through rich fiber foods, and that's another great one because it improves that good bacteria in the gut. And then when it comes to fruits and vegetables, how many should we eat? Well, 7 to 13. You guys know this. Blah blah blah. And then we might ask, like, how many did you get today or yesterday? And then we go around the room again. And from presentations, people are going to say like 1 or 2. And then I know Michaela even has like a bowl of fake fruit where she shows 13 different servings of fruits and vegetables, which is ridiculous. It's very hard to eat that much. I'm vegan. I don't eat that much. So what we do is in our family, we bridge that gap with a product called Juice Plus, and then we give like a 15 to 30-second version of what's in Juice Plus and how come it's awesome. And that's the extent of the pitch of Juice Plus. I would also always add in that we also have a healthy vegan smoothie from Juice Plus, which again, getting all those ancient grains and those great macronutrition, that's going to build your gut health even more. So the second way, I'm sorry, so we had fruits and vegetables, fiber-rich food. Next is our Shred 10 lifestyle. We might plug that. Another great way to build your microbiome is through fermented foods. Things like Anything that's undergone fermentation, where the process where the sugars are broken down and by yeast or bacteria. Some examples are sourdough, kombucha, kimchi, kefir, sauerkraut, miso, bone broth, yogurt, things like that. And it builds it up. So then we get into sourdough. That's why we're really here tonight. Why sourdough is awesome? Well, it's rich in vitamins and a great probiotic. It aids in digestion. It's higher in fiber and protein than regular bread. And it's easier to digest and is lower in sugar because the fermentation process kind of breaks down the gluten and also is eating the sugars, like we talked about, kind of like when you're making beer or wine, it's eating the sugars and producing alcohol. Therefore, it's better for diabetics, and even those who are gluten intolerant can often eat it. All right. So let's get to why you really came. And that gets us over to our sourdough instructions. Hopefully, you guys have those available. The ingredients we're going to need here tonight are 1.5 to 2 cups of water. I always start with just 1.5 cups, a large bowl, an active start. We're going to go through terminology in a second. A tablespoon of salt. I like to use sea salt. Um, an oven-safe container with or without a lid. I like to use a Dutch oven. If you don't have one and you're going to improvise, I know that Melissa and Jennifer are at the beach right now and they may not have a Dutch oven, so they're going to figure out whatever they got to figure out with what they have. But I will tell you this, I baked it because the other morning, because I had 2 workshops in one day, I ended up with like 4 loaves I had to bake. So I only have one Dutch oven. So I was doing 2 at a time. I used a pizza stone. The first one burnt terribly on the bottom. So you might want to look up on the internet. Like I searched afterward, like sourdough on a pizza stone or sourdough on a baking sheet or sourdough in a bread tin or whatever you're going to use, look it up. Because once I lowered the temperature, it got much, much better. So it's going to alter a little bit. Let's see. That's all we're going to really need. Some parchment paper. Hopefully we have that. That's going to help. If not, my improvisation there, ladies at the beach, would be to just put plenty of flour underneath it so it doesn't stick to the pan. And any add-ins you want to do. My only add-ins I've done so far, I was curious. So for the family, I made some jalapeno cheddar. And I will say this, I have been vegan, except for when I went to New York City and had a piece of pizza. Um, but let me tell you, this bread has really made me feel not so good for like 2 days. So I'm not making any more cheese bread because I'm not supposed to be eating cheese anyway. But oh, yeah, man, it just really broke me down. But I know lots of the other people are putting herbs and all kinds of cool stuff. And you'll see in the Simply Sourdough group, people are adding in all kinds of really cool things. I did make a pizza dough, and you may have seen on my social media yesterday. What I made there was just a pizza dough, was one version of this, but Sharon used the einkorn flour, which is like an ancient version of flour, and it wasn't going to puff up. We could see that, so it was no good. So I cut it in half, and I made 2 pizza doughs, and then I just rolled it out, put it on the pizza stone, put all kinds of healthy things on it, and it was awesome. It was really, really a great pizza. So no more buying pizza doughs. All right, so we're on the sourdough instructions. We're going to go through our terminology. And feel free anytime you have a question as we go through this to unmute yourself and just bust right in with your question. First of all, is the mother. A lot of people wonder or they're confused what the mother even is. The mother is, let's just think of it as like, if this is the mother, like maybe this is the son. I poured this out and that's how I'm going to start my bread. We have a mother and we have a starter. The mother kind of goes on forever. So you guys at the beach again, you're going to make bread today, but you're not going to use all of this. You're going to save a little bit and you're going to take it back home with you. And maybe Melissa wants one in her house and Jennifer wants one in her house. So you're going to feed it. Then you're going to split it into 2 jars. Now you have 2 mothers. The mother is just what continues on. If the mother is outside, it needs to be fed. I mean, not outside, but on the counter, you're going to feed it. And that means you're going to do a quarter. Well, we're going to get to that in a second. So that's what the definition of a mother is. If you're not going to be using her, you can name her. We named ours Fred. Fred goes into the fridge. Fred goes in the fridge and stays there until it's time to bake. Then you bring Fred out. You let him heat up on the counter for a couple hours to its room temperature. Then you feed it that quarter cup of flour, quarter cup of water, stir it up, and you're gonna see, like for instance, I keep a little rubber band on this one. When I feed this, it might start here, but in about 3 or 4 hours, it goes way up to here, and then it comes back down once it's all done eating. And you'll get used to the smell and like kind of knowing how it's doing based on the smell and stuff. All right, so the second definition is a starter. I think I kind of told you what that is. The starter is just what we're going to use to start our bread. The third definition is feeding. Typical feeding is a quarter cup of flour, bread flour or all-purpose flour, and a quarter cup of water. Now, I will say this. I've had several people, including Layla. Layla Dunn brought, she had like some kind of whole grain flour. Um, I'm all about whole grain. I don't usually eat white flour, but I'll tell you this, just learn to make the bread first. And you're going to need to use white flour. If for some reason you brought like only whole wheat flour tonight, good luck. Just go with it so you practice making bread. But in general, you're going to want like regular whole, just white flour. You don't have to get bleached flour. In fact, the King Arthur brand says like unbleached white flour, and that's their all purpose. And then the bread flour is unbleached bread flour, and they're both organic. The bread flour has a little more gluten in it, and that's kind of a good thing. It makes it nice and chewy and spongy. Um, but the all-purpose flour works just fine. That's what I've been using. Let's go to discard. So as we're feeding this mother, let's say I feed this thing and it's right here. Well, I'm building this up for my Friday night event. When I feed it again, I'm putting in a quarter cup of water and flour. So it's going to go up a half cup and then it's going to expand and then it's going to come down. Then I'm going to feed it again. Well, eventually it's going to be overflowing. So as you're feeding these things, you're going to have some discard where you just, I keep my garbage right here. So I can just discard it out into the garbage. If you hate the idea of wasting like that, or you feel like it's a waste, there's other options. You could be saving it for other mothers that you're going to give to people. Also, in the Simply Sourdough group, you're going to find there's a bunch of recipes for crackers and pizza crust and little things like that. So you can use it for all kinds of things. I just don't have that much interest. I'm going to be honest with you. Like you guys know, I've been eating really healthy. Um, Usually, I only do one loaf of sourdough for the whole week, and then when we run out, we don't have bread. Lately, because I'm doing all these workshops this week, it's been like constant bread around here, and I don't feel very good to tell you the truth. It's just too much bread. So I have no interest in making more pancakes, muffins, crackers. I mean, it's just wheat, 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 wheat. I'm not anti-wheat or anything like that, but I just don't need that much in my life. So that is your discard. The next definition is tugging and tucking. Okay, that is the action of tugging or pulling your dough from the side and tucking it into the middle of the dough. Then you take it all the way around the whole bowl. You're tugging, tucking, turn it a little bit, tugging, tucking, turn it a little bit, tug it out, put it in. So as you do that, you're stretching out this gluten and you're building strength in these fibers. And you're creating those air pockets that are going to happen. So when you open your bread up, you have all those beautiful holes and stuff. It's really good. Um, you're going to do it around the whole bowl about 5 or 6 times. The more you tug and tuck, the more sour taste your bread will have and the fluffier it'll be. Okay, you can use your hand or a dough scraper. I like to use my hand. Um, and that's about it. And that process is going to happen over hours and hours and hours. You tug and you tuck, you let it sit for 30 to 60 minutes. You tug and tuck again, you let it sit for 30 to 60 minutes. You tug and tuck again. So that's like 5 times or so. Um, and that is going to be kind of a long process. Now, you have to work this into your life. So let's say you're on vacation, you're at the beach, or you want to go play golf, or you got some errands to run, and maybe you don't come back to the house for 3 or 4 hours. Big deal. You just tug and tuck again then. Don't worry about it. In fact, right now we're doing it in the evening. So it's not like you can get 5 or 6 tucks in tonight unless you stay up till 2 in the morning. So you're probably going to tug and tuck a little bit, maybe do it one more time, put it in the fridge or put it on the counter. I did mine in the fridge the other day because I didn't want it to keep fermenting quickly overnight for 8 hours. And then the next morning, I just put it on the counter, let it kind of get room temperature for an hour or two. And then I started the process again and I baked in the afternoon. All right. So think about this as like a tower garden where, you know how you can get very precise and accurate with the tower garden, but if you just leave it alone and then it kind of runs out of water, the pH is off, then you fix it, it still grows. Same thing's going to happen with the bread. You're still going to be eating bread tomorrow, no matter what. All right, so I'm on the back of the instruction sheet now. Making bread, it says. Let's see. Bring it to room temperature. We already did this for about 3 to 4 hours, depending on the warmth of your kitchen. Step one is pour some of the mother into a pint jar. Well, you guys have already done that, and that should be about a quarter cup, and that's your start. So when I have guests, like for Jules' house, I'm going to make 8 of these. I'm going to do not a quarter cup, but I'm going to do a half cup because a quarter cup goes into their bread, and then I want them to have a mother to take home. For today, we have ours. I think we're already done with step 1 and 2. Step 2 is feeding. Step 3 is to rise your start, 3 to 4 hours. And that's the best time to bake, by the way. So if you would have fed this about 3 or 4 hours ago, which was in the instructions, but we probably didn't get it perfectly right. I know I didn't. I actually only fed this about an hour and a half ago. I forgot. And I'm like, oh crap. So it's probably just going to mean that my bread rises slower until it really starts eating all the new flour it's about to get. We are on step 4. That's where we're all together. So once your start has risen, mix your start with water, salt, and flour using a large spoon or Dutch whisk. So let's go ahead and do that step. So we're going to start by putting our starter into our bowl. Now, if you have a mother, remember, don't use all this. Leave a quarter cup. But I'm going to put about a quarter cup into my bowl.
Doug, do you have anything in the bowl or it's just clean?
It's clean right now.
Okay.
I will tell you this, make sure you start soaking these jars. If you're done with them, you won't be done because you guys, that's your mother jar. I had mine in a separate jar. I have about this much in there. I probably have a little more than a half cup.
Well, just unmute yourself.
So do a half a cup?
Oh.
If you can afford a third cup, I like a third cup. The instructions say a quarter.
Okay,
Go ahead,
so
Jen, Melissa.
if this is my mother,
yeah.
am I only taking I put a fourth in here for a new starter.
Yeah.
And then am I only putting a fourth of this in the bowl?
That's right. You only need a quarter cup to make bread.
Whoa. Okay.
So that's what the starter was for.
Well, then why do you have to dump out a quarter cup out of this if, like, I'm still going to have more left in here?
Well, that's because you're combining 2 steps. So if you were going to bake bread, I don't see a reason to put it into a separate thing. I would just, well, it depends what you're doing. Once you learn to like manage your mother, like in the fridge and all that, you might take her out, put her on the counter, feed her, then take out a quarter cup and feed that again. But to be honest with you, if your mother is growing and good, I would just pour it right into the bowl. You know, it depends how you want to kind of manage it.
Right.
I realize that. Go ahead.
I think we're gonna take the mother, put her in the bowl. Oh, maybe I should take out 2 fourth cups so I have 2 mothers. I mean 2 starters. And then put this in the bowl and we're gonna make it tomorrow.
Correct.
No.
You're gonna mix bread right now.
Okay.
And
yes.
I would keep I see that other starter going. I would keep that going because this is probably going to be good enough that everybody's going to be like, make more bread in a few days.
Okay.
And you also might, I mean, I don't know what your timeline, how it looks over there for you guys, how busy you guys are, but if you have time to be baking, I don't know. But if you do, then you might want to make more while you're on vacation.
Okay, thank
All right,
you.
so we have our starter in the bowl. Now we're going to mix in our water, 1.5 cups of like room temperature water. So you may need a little more, but I start with a cup and a half. That's definitely going to be needed. No pun intended. Come on, water. I heated this up before we started. I guess it cooled off.
So a cup and a half of water.
1.5 cups of water. All right, so now I have 1.5 cups of water and my starter. I'm going to kind of stir these up. Just kind of, it becomes like, it looks like milk. Like, let's call it almond milk. One time I forgot to put the salt in at this step, and it was a terrible bread. Don't forget your salt. All right, so we're going to put in our salt, which, huh, where'd my little spoons go? Oh, there. This is going to feel like a lot of salt, but trust me, it's not going to be saltier than other bread. I guess this is how much salt goes into bread. So it's supposed to be 1 tablespoon. I don't like too much salt, so I just go a little bit below 1 tablespoon, but basically a tablespoon. Here's my tablespoon. You see a little bit of silver at the top. It's almost full. I'm going to mix my salt in and then stir. And then we're going to do 4 cups of our flour.
Okay, so we have like a whole cup of mother.
Did you put the whole cup in already?
No, just a half a cup.
Yeah, let's just only use a half cup on the bread.
Okay.
I mean, I don't really know the effect of putting more mother. Yeah. But I think I may have heard that if you have too much starter, you would need more flour for it to eat well. You want it to be able to eat for like 12 hours. And what it eats is the flour, the natural yeast in the air, the water, all that kind of stuff. All right, so we're going to go now with 4 cups of flour. Now, I'm on Zoomy. So now some of you guys I know, if you're not a baker, I'm not really a baker, but just remember that baking is a little bit more scientific. I know I said it doesn't have to be perfect earlier, but I saw a video of one of our friends just scooping in like heaping scoops of flour. Don't do that. Try to really get 4 cups in. Make sure you count while you do it. I hate when I forget the cup I'm on. That was 2, 3. I count out loud. And 4. All right. Try and share some tips I've learned. First of all, I like to only get one hand dirty. So again, these rubber spatulas are awesome. And you're gonna want to bring extra spatulas when you do the event because my people didn't bring spoons. Luckily, I had already bought them. Luckily, they brought bowls. I think I'm just gonna get really good at reminding them what to bring. So as you combine this, start with the spatula or the spoon. I'm kind of coming down from the side wall, scooping in towards the middle. Once it gets a little thicker, we're going to go to the hands. Everybody's muted, Sharon, so it feels very strange and disconnected. Oh, I'm not muted. Yeah, you could probably. Well, I am recording this, so you can put groceries away. Just try to be mindful. All right, so we're almost ready for the hand. It's going to look like it's too dry. Stick with it. I feel like the 1.5 cups of water to the 4 cups of bread flour is going to come out good. Obviously, if you put a little more starter, that's going to be a little more moisture, but it's okay. Still using only my right hand because I'm a righty. All right, I'm gonna switch over um, to the right hand getting dirty now. Now, when I get the right hand dirty, I like to hold the bowl with the left hand so that I keep at least one hand clean. Otherwise, it just it gets crazy. It's like using super glue and you got both fingers with super glue on it and they're sticking together and all that. No fun. So notice I'm kind of pounding down into it with my fingertips and then I'm flipping it and folding it, flipping it around, trying to get the bread to pick up more of the flour that's in the bowl, getting a little bit more shape to it. And we're going to get a little good workout here. You can punch it down a little bit. The best bread we had at our live event was from a 16-year-old young lady who was really, it almost became like her squishy thing. What else? Hell, she called it slime. She was like pounding it, and it seemed to really help. I'm assuming if you guys were having trouble, you would unmute. So everybody's just mixing and pounding and pushing their fingers into it. You're just trying to get air in there and get the water to start combining with the flour. As you do it, keep scraping the bowl with the flour like this. Get every bit of goodness there and helps clean your bowl a little bit.
Doug, I feel really bad that I do not have anything. I am
It's
just
okay.
sitting
Oh
and
no,
watching.
it's good. Nina's watching too. So don't worry, Courtney. I'm going to put you in a group that's going to have this recording and a bunch of other recordings of each step one at a time, including the baking, like the oven, everything. So. Mama. Oh, hey. What's up, girl? That was Courtney's girl. You heard it? The princess.
Say hi, Uncle Dougie.
Hey, I miss you.
So you're doing a good job.
She's a good girl. Eat your veggies, maybe an avocado. All right. So mine's starting to look like a ball. Anybody getting close? Forming up. That 1.5 cup of water is looking good.
Jen says
Looks like
ours is still sticky.
is it like moist and like? Yeah, yeah. So that's I think it has to do with barometric pressure. Maybe because you're up in the Northeast. Maybe add a little bit more flour. Like just dust it a little bit more. Yeah, I can get if it's too sticky, but don't overdo it. I mean, mine is not too sticky.
Oh, no, I have two hands straight. It's okay. You have me.
Jennifer, now Jennifer, you're doing a lot of this. Are you sure you're like really getting it folded in and
Tugging and tucking.
Am I tugging? I don't think I'm tugging and tucking now.
Are we tugging and tucking?
No, no.
well, tugging and tucking would work, but
Oh.
I'm just worried about you going around and around like you're getting the outside. Like what's in the middle? Like maybe there's more flour in there.
It looks
Maybe it would
better.
get it's getting there?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I noticed this is a kind of a cool thing too. If you take it and like kind of like fold it like this and stretch it. I've been
Like you're
doing that
making a
stretch.
pierogi?
Is it really? Is that a pierogi technique? I'm a natural. Well, you guys up in pierogi land know how to do this stuff. I'll tell you that. The pierogi sisters coming to you live. Yeah. You want to go see her? You want to say hello? Okay. You're eating some sushi. Valerie, how you doing over there? Okay, don't touch the mute. Just oh, there you go. Yeah, just hold it up. To be honest with you, I would be done at this point. But because we're on a Zoom, I'm kind of taking it a little further because I want to show you the tug and the tuck. But this is probably like mine. See, I'm finding ways to just keep even almost like flattening it out a little bit. I think they call this kneading. Technically, this is what they call a no knead recipe. 741. Be done in about 8 minutes. All right, so this doesn't look perfectly smooth or anything. It's got kind of lumps and all that in there. You guys are probably the same way. But it's probably ready for the next step. But I'm going to demonstrate the step after that. So this was the mixing your bread. Let's see. Tug and tuck the dough. Step 5, tug and tuck the dough once mixed for a full rotation of the bowl. Okay. So I'm going to show you guys, this will be how we tug and tuck. So, and you're going to see this bread's going to get so smooth. And you ever see it like a pizza place when they have those perfectly smooth little balls of bread ready for pizza and they look so cool? Your bread's going to look exactly like that. Right now it's just like this because it hasn't risen at all yet. So I promise it's going to get better. So tug and tuck, I would start like here. I'm going to just go out to my left from underneath. I only tugged it about that far. And then I'm going to tuck this back and put it on the middle. Then I'm going to do it on the other side. Tug it, tuck it. Now I'm going to turn 90 degrees. Tug it out. Tuck it. Turn it another 180. Hit the other side. Then we try and get the corners. Maybe do like a 45-degree angle. Sometimes you can pull both sides like this. Then double tuck. Keep tugging. And this tug is going to be totally different. After about 30 minutes from now, your bread's going to act very different, you'll see. Then I'm going to do the pierogi roll. Here we go, inverted pierogi roll. Okay, here's another technique I've developed. I call this the Dougie tuck. This is holding in the left hand, and I pull it over the hand with this hand, so it's kind of wrapping in there, and then I tuck it. Then I turn it 90 degrees. I Dougie tuck again. Here's Emma. Hey. All right, so.
Hey, we have our own Emma.
We have our own
Hey,
Emma.
look, Emma, look, there's another Emma here. Wait, talk, guys, so we see you. Emma's unite. Emma's of the world. No, there's an Emma at the OC Beach. There's a whole crew up there. All right, so that is a tug and a tuck. And it's kind of it's like not very smooth. It looks like a brain or something. After 30 minutes, oh yeah. All right, so now it's the flour sack towel time, or whatever towel you have available. I only started using the proper towel about this weekend. Yeah. For the last 5 weeks, I've been just using whatever towel's handy. But you want it to be damp, so I'm going to wet it. And then I'm going to wring it out. So the towel is just damp. That's going to keep it from developing like a hard crust over the top. And then I'm just going to cover this up. You can do 2 layers if your towel's big enough. Mine barely is, so I'm not. So I'm just going to cover this thing up. And then the instructions say we're going to let it sit overnight. I guess it assumes we're doing it now. So you'll just let this sit overnight. And then tomorrow, oh, I see what they're saying. They want us to do tugging or tucking 5. Let me read this again. Because this depends when you make your bread. Tug and tuck the dough once mixed for a full rotation of the bread. That's what we did. You can use your hand or a bread scraper. Tug and tuck 4 to 5 sessions before letting sit overnight. You can do this every 30 to 60 minutes. Make it fit your schedule. Okay? So while we are going to make it fit our schedule, we just did it now, and I have another Zoom to go on, and I'm not going to be making bread all night. So I'm going to put this in the refrigerator for me. Then tomorrow morning when I wake up, I'm going to take it out, and then that'll be a day of like whenever I happen to walk by in the kitchen, I tug and tuck. In the Facebook group, I'll put you guys in right now. I think I already invited everybody on here into the Learn Sourdough Workshops Facebook group. That shows you me tugging and tucking, but you're going to do that for like 5 sessions. There's nothing wrong with going more. The rule of thumb, though, is your dough needs about 10 to 12 hours from mixing before you bake it. So there's nothing wrong with going up to 24 hours. There's nothing, you can go up to even longer. But the longer you wait, the more sour your dough is going to be. It's going to get more and more sour as you go. Let's just cover when you're ready to bake. Preheat your oven to 450, but you may have to adjust that depending on your oven. Some people heat their Dutch oven in the oven, so it's super hot. I have not been doing that. I need to try it. I just keep my Dutch oven cool, heat the oven. Then, hey Sharon, can you grab my Dutch oven? I think it's on the shelf down there. I want to show them my silicone in the laundry room, or whatever you call it, pantry. Okay, so we're gonna preheat. Oh, there's my lovely assistant. This is the Lodge Dutch oven. It's about $50, I think. I like this because it's a double Dutch oven. It has handles on this part, but also handles on this part. So I can make my bread in here and take it off, or I can make my bread like this, which is kind of better for social media, right? Because now when I take this off and bake the last 10 minutes and I open my oven, you can see the loaf, and I can have like my camera coming across like that, you know? You can get these on Amazon. This is a silicone mat that can go right into the oven. So now when I'm done with my bread, this is going to be 500 degrees, you know? So it's very difficult to work with. It's hard to get your bread out sometimes. So this allows me to use pot holders and just lift my bread out and then get it onto a cooling rack, which I just use my gas top stove. It says to tug and tuck one last time before you transfer your dough onto a piece of parchment paper and put it in your Dutch oven. That's up to you. I find sometimes when I let it rise, I've been letting mine rise for like the last 2 hours or so. Just let it rise up and then put it in the Dutch oven. And then you do want to score it with a knife on the top. So I just literally keep like a razor blade here from Home Depot, and you just do one cut across the top, or you can do a cross. If you go on YouTube, you'll see people are making all kinds of beautiful patterns and writing their names and cool stuff like that. You want to sprinkle it with a little water, or you baptize it, and add any toppings. Put the lid on, bake on the center rack for 45 to 50 minutes, then remove the lid and bake an additional 5 to 10 minutes. That's to get it more of like a golden brown. Some people like a crunchy sourdough. Some people want it more like a white bread, like barely crunchy. It's up to you. Let it cool a little bit before you eat it or cut it, and then store it in like a brown paper bag. I got these from Amazon. It's been really helpful. So you can't put these in freezer bags because the moisture will make it like literally mold overnight. But they have these bags on Amazon. They're pretty cheap. And it's just convenient. We stick it in the bag, we put it on the counter. Maybe you have a bread box, but this is how we've been doing it, and it works well. That's about it. I'm gonna open it up for any questions.
I have two
You guys want?
questions.
Yeah.
I know it shocks you. So we are going to be up for a little while, but obviously not enough hours to bake this. Do we put it in the fridge now, or do we tug and tuck a couple times and then put it in the fridge?
Let's say you were gonna go to bed around 11 tonight.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. That's 3 hours. That gives you like every 30 minutes. I mean, you could tug and tuck every 30 minutes and then leave it on the counter overnight is what I would recommend. And then in the morning, you're ready to bake like first thing.
Okay. Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
so that takes care of the second question. Do you have to use, because we just have a pot and I'm afraid this is going to burn in the oven.
Do you have a
That's not,
any type of a bread pan or a loaf pan or anything?
no, we just,
I would is there a cover to that pot? That looks small too. You don't have like a big pot for making pasta
yeah,
or
but
a
I don't know
baking
if
sheet?
all those go, I don't know if all those can go in the oven.
Uh,
You know what I'm saying?
Like, so can any pot go in the oven?
I don't think so. Okay, we'll figure that out.
Okay.
yeah, and if that turned out to be kind of a smaller pot, um you might do you guys have any parchment paper? Yes. Okay, that's cool. Because I've been noticing as I've gotten better, my bread starts to hit the sides of my Dutch oven now. So then it wants to burn there. So I've been doing parchment paper around the edges just to keep it from burning. You can put some, even though you put parchment paper down, you can put some flour onto the bottom of it to just help it not burn as much. You're definitely going to want it covered though. That's the really important in sourdough is you want a steaming effect. So if you took, so what I was going to say, if that bowl you just showed me seems a little small, then maybe you're going to want to um, cut your dough and make it a little smaller. So what if you cut it in? Oh, look at that.
Oh.
I have two of
Ooh.
these. So like 2 loaf pans, so we could do a loaf pan with a cookie sheet over top.
Or 2 loaf pans.
I have 2 loaf pans.
But do they go upside
So
down?
No, you would
so
loaf pan
notice the
No.
last thing, yeah, and then put a baking sheet over them.
over top.
That could do it. And it says right in the bottom of the instructions, if you're using a loaf pan, set the time for 20 to 25 minutes. Once the timer goes off, lightly place a piece of foil on top and bake another 20 minutes. Yeah. So you're going to want to just adjust it. The fact that it's less dense, there's less mass because you're cutting it in half. Just put your science background to work there. You can do this. You'll figure it out. It's all physics. You got this. Just lower the cooking time. You might want to lower the temperature a little bit because 450 seems hot and you're at a beach house. You don't know what this oven's like. So I'd go 425 personally. Anybody else have questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have an actual baking oven thing. I don't know if it could still work if I use this.
Like a, what is that? A
bread-
bread maker, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a bread maker. I was going to sell it now, but I haven't tried it yet. But usually, I don't know. I have no idea. I would sure as heck try it.
Okay.
I was thinking about trying it. You can let us know. And Joanne, in closing, is there anything you think I missed or you would say after making 5 loaves?
That I finally got my charm. The only thing that I've gone back and forth on that I was going to ask you about is the float test. Have you ever done a float
Yeah.
test?
Yeah, I do it just because I'm curious. And if anybody doesn't know what the float test is, the float test is you have a cup of water and you take some of your starter. Where did I put my other starter? Oh, I cleaned it out already. So I wouldn't expect either of my mothers to be ready. But so you actually take a little bit of your starter and you put it into the water and you see if it floats. See if this mother from the fridge floats. Yeah, mine's already floating. You know,
Okay.
I've seen reports on the internet, Joanne, that the float test may or may not be reliable. And I would say this, if I'm ready to bake, I'm gonna just I'm gonna bake anyway, personally. But I do think, I mean, a lot of time, I remember my first few starters did not float. That's because usually when you first get it going, a lot of people like feed it for like 2 days and they think it's good to go, but it really does need like 4 days to get like super. And you know this, Joanne, the longer it's on your counter and you're feeding it, it gets super bubbly and it wants to
Yeah.
just puff right up. Cool.
Thank you.
Well, let me stop the recording. Thanks for joining us. If you're watching this, put any comments or questions below.